Marco lived in a quiet mountain town, but his mind was anything but quiet. His thoughts never stopped spinning regrets, fears, memories, worries circling like storms he couldn't escape. Each day he felt more exhausted, more lost, more disconnected from himself. He struggled to sleep, struggled to smile, struggled to feel anything except the weight of his own mind. His past felt heavy. His future felt frightening. And his present felt like a battlefield. He knew something had to change before the chaos took over completely. One day he heard about a remote village deeper in the hills where a wise old man lived. Once, a brilliant psychologist. Now a man who chose peace over noise. Something about that gave Marco hope. He decided to go meet this man, believing maybe someone could show him how to quiet the storms inside his head. So he began a long journey through forests, rough paths, cold nights, and endless silence. But he kept going, following the faint spark of hope inside him. When he finally reached the small village, he found a tiny house covered in vines and sunlight. On the porch sat the old man, still and calm, as if the world around him couldn't touch him. Marco walked closer and whispered that he wanted peace and couldn't control his thoughts. The old man opened his eyes gently, almost as if he had been expecting him. Without asking anything more, he stood up and told Marco to follow him. There was no lecture, no judgment, just a quiet invitation toward something different. He took Marco to a small yard, filled a glass completely to the top, and handed it to him. Then he gave him a strange instruction. Walk to the edge of the village and return without spilling a single drop. Confused but desperate, Marco agreed. Marco stepped onto the narrow street, focusing entirely on the glass. The world around him was loud children playing, shopkeepers shouting, dogs barking, but Marco saw none of it. His whole mind locked onto one task: keep the water steady. He moved slowly, carefully, step by step, not allowing anything to distract him. It felt like the world had faded away, like the noise had dissolved into the background. For the first time in years, his mind wasn't racing, it was focused. When he returned to the old man, not a single drop had spilled. Marco felt proud and relieved, but the old man simply smiled and asked if he had noticed the chaos around him, the children, the noise, the barking dogs. Marco shook his head, confused. He hadn't noticed anything. He had been too focused on the glass. The old man nodded and whispered that this was the lesson. When your mind is in the present moment, fear and chaos cannot control you. He explained that peace doesn't come from controlling the world, but from controlling your focus. When your mind stays here right now, then the noise of the past and fear of the future lose their power. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you uncover. Marco felt something shift inside him. For the first time, I felt Keith, not because the world changed, but because his attention did. He finally understood that peace wasn't hiding in some future moment. It was hiding beneath the noise of his own thoughts. As the sun set behind the mountains, the old man gave him a silent nod, as if saying he had learned what he came for. Birds returned to their nests. The sky turned golden, and Marco began the walk back home this time with a different heart. He was no longer the restless young man drowning in thoughts. He was someone who understood how to breathe, how to be present, how to quiet the storms within. He knew peace wasn't far away. It was already inside him, waiting for him to return to the now. And so Marco left that village with a calm mind, a steady heart, and a new way of living. He no longer feared his thoughts. He understood that the present moment is where life truly happens and where peace finally begins.